Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Films and Stuff. I'm Ethan, along with Pete. Action-packed episode today, yes?
That's exactly right. How are you this week?
I am great. We are talking about a new show on Netflix called Fubar.
That's right. And for those of you who don't know, Fubar is military lingo.
It is.
It stands for, and I'm going to be PG friendly, fudged up beyond all recognition. The reason
So I was going to say, tell us why the show is like such a big deal. We're both trying to get it out because it's so exciting, right? It's Arnold Schwarzenegger's first television show.
Exactly right. He's obviously been on TV before. I think he was a part of maybe Celebrity Apprentice, if I remember correctly. He's done stuff on television. Of course, he was the governor of California. But of course, I think most people will know Arnold Schwarzenegger for being basically at least this generation's biggest action hero, right?
Yeah. He's a
maybe not
star.
This generation's, but certainly the last generation's. So for him to now step into the television arena, it's an interesting choice.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot has been said about Schwarzenegger, and he's a little bit typecast into the, all bronze, not really a lot of brains, kind of one-liners. But he is really the model, right? That every other athlete or professional aspires to in terms of crossover.
100%.
Right? He was a bodybuilder. He was Mr. Olympia, and that is the crossover. And if you look at some of his early work, I mean, it's a little bit tragic, but he is the mold, the prototype for everyone else, from John Cena to The Rock to everybody else, right?
And if you look at everybody else, they followed the same Hollywood footsteps that he laid, right? They were known for their physical athletic prowess.
That's right.
They did an action movie that kind of made everyone aware of them. Then they broke mold and they did like a children's focused movie.
Yep.
Kindergarten Cop, or for The Rock, The Tooth Fairy. And Vin Diesel did the same, where he was like a babysitter. All these guys did that kind of propelled him to being like a more, I don't want to say rounded, but at least more, approachable
family
action
friendly
star. Exactly. And then he also did comedies, right? We saw him in Twins.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I mean, he really has cemented himself as one of the greatest action stars of his era.
Absolutely. So that being said, what do you think of Fubar? What's the premise? It's not too far off his sweet spot, right?
No, in fact, I think it's almost exactly right in his sweet spot.
Yeah.
The concept of Fubar is simple. Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a field agent for the CIA, and he's been a senior field agent for the last 40 years.
Right.
He is basically known as one of the top CIA agents.
Right.
And we're now entering the end game of his career, where, we literally open in on the first episode on his quote unquote last mission for the CIA.
Yep.
And he's just like, look, I'm tired. I'm tired because this job has cost me my family, right? We find out he's divorced. And so his idea is, I'm going to retire. The CIA is going to let me keep one of the boats that we confiscated on one of my missions. I'm going to, quote unquote, sell my business, which was the CIA front. And he's going to walk into the sunset, or sail away into the sunset, trying to win back the love of his life, his ex-wife.
That's right.
That goes off without a hitch until halfway through the first episode. We meet his ex-wife. We meet his daughter. We meet his daughter's boyfriend.
Right.
And we learn that his daughter is going off to join this like non-governmental organization in Guatemala or somewhere in Latin America.
Right.
Where she's going to basically be building like
aqueducts.
Yeah. So providing fresh water to people.
Right.
He gets sucked into one last mission because of course he does. And on that last mission, guess what he finds out? Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, dun.
His daughter is also a CIA undercover agent. He's the one who was sent to go extract her from a position where she was just about to be found out.
Her cover was going to be blown. They sent in Schwarzenegger for one last mission because he had some old familiarity with the bad guy. He comes in to save the agent, and the agent is his daughter. Both of them surprised.
Exactly. So that's the basic concept. And then, of course, hijinks ensue. And, they end up having to work together to fix this long-ass mission over 8 episodes. Nothing that any of us would be surprised by.
Who is his daughter? It's Phoenix from Maverick.
Oh, yes, that's exactly right.
His daughter, I'm like, man, she looks familiar. Where have I seen her before? And I was trying to think of television shows, but no, she was Phoenix in Maverick.
Yeah. What do you think of the premise?
I think if you're designing a show for Arnold Schwarzenegger, this is exactly what you would come up with. You would come up with either that he is a retired CIA agent who's about to be a family man, or you'd find that he's like a retired football player who's a great high school English teacher. Definitely one of those two. So I think that this is a very solid premise to build a show around. I think that the cast is actually exceptional. The dude who plays Barry, Milan Carter, I thought he nails that role. I thought Gabrielle Luna, who plays the main bad guy, Boro Polonia, great name, by the way. I thought he nailed it. And I thought that Rue, Fortune Feimster,
yeah.
I always think that she's kind of funny. And I remember her in, oh man, we saw her in something else. And I thought she was super funny in that as well, right? So I thought the supporting cast is actually quite strong.
I totally agree with you. I think essentially the showrunner or the writer or whoever it is said, I haven't seen Arnie on screen in a while.
Yeah.
Let's write a spec script around him. I think that's what they did. I really think they didn't write this show and then say, let's try to get Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, I think they had him in mind and built it around him. Yeah. You get to see him do action, which he's done in the past. You get to see him do a little bit of comedy, which he has done in the past.
Yeah.
You get to see him flex a little bit of his emotional range, which we haven't really seen, but kind of. We have seen the parental child dynamic before, obviously the most famous one in Terminator 2. We get to see a little bit of that. We also get to see him kind of, I'm not saying he's going to rail against today's current political agenda for a lot of things, but you can see he's kind of like one of those old school guys who's just like, this isn't what it means to be a man. This isn't what it means to be, a husband. He rails against his son in the movie. He rails against his potential son-in-law in the movie. He sees a lot of that kind of stuff. So I think this show is like the perfect platform for Arnold Schwarzenegger, the human being, to kind of showcase what his, not just political ideology is, but like his physical ideology.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to like it. I remember seeing a teaser trailer a while ago. I thought the premise was going to be that he is a secret agent and that his family doesn't know, and that his family finds out and he has to kind of drag them along on this mission as like these hapless, innocent civilians.
Right.
I like that twist where we find out that his daughter is also an agent, and then it becomes a father-daughter team effectively. A very, very dysfunctional one, which we learn very quickly.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I mean, I think, again, the show was definitely written for Arnold, and I think that he plays his role very well. My grievances, if I can call them that, is a lot of it's not really Arnold's fault, but he's not a young guy anymore, right? Yeah. It's just, I wouldn't say it's hard to watch, but you definitely have to let your imagination go a little bit to accept him kind of like bouncing around like the spry old guy that we were first introduced to, at the start of his career. So imagine this kind of 72-year-old grandfather still like out in the field on missions. And first of all, Schwarzenegger's always been kind of a bazooka guy, right? He's never been John Wick, hand-to-hand combat, really fast choreographed scenes, right? He's always been the robot who's walked in with a bazooka and exploded the building. Terminator, right? He has that machine gun that's got like a million rounds, right? And it just like levels everything. He's never been the guy to play with like pistols, John Wick style. So it's good that in this show, they don't have him engage in a lot of hand-to-hand combat. He could definitely punch someone. He could come up behind them and kind of slit their throat, but he's definitely not spry enough to engage in a fist fight scene. So I think they kind of utilize him properly in that way. But, for television as well, the types of stunts and the action that they have, it's really different level from the movies that we've seen him in, right? You're forced to do a lot more kind of creative things with Jeeps and with different camera angles. The explosions are a little bit less awe-inspiring. So it's definitely television. And I think that if you're really expecting this to be a great action series, you'll be a little bit disappointed. But Arnold honestly plays his role pretty well. And I think there's a good message in what he's doing in terms of, the priorities of family and, acting the right way and taking responsibility. I have to say, like, there's some good messages embedded in the script.
I gotta say, most of the supporting cast was excellent, like really good.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% a fan, although I love Monica Barbaro. I wasn't a fan of her character.
Can I guess why?
Go on.
A lot of vulgarity.
Yeah, the vulgarity took it away from me, and also like 100% delusional behavior.
Yeah.
It's a trope that I'm kind of over at this point. Like, if you want to be a delusional person, be a delusional person. That's fine. That's okay. But to sustain that over 8 episodes, it's a bit difficult for me to handle.
I didn't watch all 8 episodes, but the episodes I watched, I found that she was very much the angry daughter. Yeah. And I feel like that is so in a culture and environment that are so empowering of women. I feel like these roles do the opposite, and it really diminished her as a woman to have like this huge grudge against her father and be so angry and so judgy and so vulgar about it. I would have preferred if she would have said something like, "Dad, I always knew you were in the CIA. Do you think I'm so stupid that I think that you're a traveling salesman of fitness materials and you're going to all these places spur of the moment because you've got to meet with a customer to sell them fitness equipment, and you'd come back with bruises and scabs because you fell or you tripped? Or come on, Dad, like, I knew you were doing something like this. I admired you so much. I saw the toll it took on you. I wanted to follow in your footsteps. I always knew you were in the CIA. I couldn't tell you, of course, I would have found that to be like a little bit more endearing message than this like anger that she kind of had.
I mean, I honestly can't tell you what I would have preferred or what arc I think would have been better, but I 100% am with you. This "I'm angry at you for lying to me" trope.
Right.
A, I'm tired of it, and B, she does exactly the same thing.
100%. If anyone would understand the importance of maintaining a cover, it would be another CIA agent, right? Because she's essentially doing to her husband or fiance what she's claiming her father did to her. Yeah.
And then Arnie, to his credit, in those moments where you see him kind of become self-reflective, and in those moments where he's saying, I want to meet a better father to you.
Yeah.
He says, you can't do the things you're doing because these are the things I did to your mother. That's right. I love her. I made mistakes. The mistakes that you are claiming to say that I've made, guess what? You're doing exactly the same thing. But this is what I meant about her being self-delusional, is just that she refuses to acknowledge that. Yeah. And she just continues being angry at her dad.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if you want to go with that, that's fine. But be aware of the fact that that's going to be a huge turnoff for so many people.
Yeah. Would you have preferred a plot where the daughter, Emma, is actually legitimately working for like an NGO and Schwarzenegger has to go extract his daughter, and then she finds out, wow, you're in the CIA, and she was always a civilian, and then they do kind of this mission together? Would you have preferred that?
I'm not sure if I would prefer that or not. And this is one of the few rare times where I actually don't know what the alternative is. I like that expectations aversion, that they're both super capable agents.
Right.
I actually thought that was a great twist. I did enjoy that aspect. It's just that I'm not sure that Emma's attitude and behavior throughout the course of the 8 episodes is sustainable. I finished the series, and even now I'm just like, like it was good. The least solid part of that, even though she's one of the most capable, is her character.
Yeah. What was her character in Maverick?
She was the third person selected on the crew.
Right.
Tom Cruise, number 1, Miles Teller, Barbaro, and Bob. She had a similar, I don't know if her attitude or behavior was similar, because I think they were all alphas in that show. So I think it was more appropriate because everyone is an alpha when you're talking about Top Gun. She stood toe to toe with Hangman and with Rooster and all of these guys, not just physically, but like, in terms of capabilities.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of thing was very appropriate. I get that you want to be an alpha here too. And maybe that's what they were going for, is that you basically have 2 alpha field agents going at it, and there's going to be an obvious clash.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I mean, good on you. You pulled it off. But she doesn't come off as likable in the sense that everyone came off as likable except for her. Even the bad guy.
That's a little bit, I think, a strategic misstep. I don't think they've made an announcement in terms of whether there's going to be a season 2 or not, right? If you're going to make this a show that has legs, eventually you need to age out Schwarzenegger. And you could then say, look, he's really going to be retired, or he'll be in a consulting role only.
Yeah.
And he'll appear in 2 episodes next year. But now it's going to be Emma and Barry as kind of like the new team, right? And give Alden, Travis Van Winkle a bigger role, give Rue a bigger role, bring in a new bad guy next year. You could really like give the show a little bit of staying power. But the key to that is, and I thought Barry pulled it off, but you need Emma, Monica Barbaro, you need her to really, really be likable. And I thought she sold the physicality.
Oh, totally.
She could handle a gun for sure. But I think you needed to make her a little bit more, and the model for this is Angelina Jolie, right? Likable, kind of sexy, but able to like reload a gun behind your back, right?
I just didn't find Monica Barbaro's character to be likable. And you're absolutely right. Assuming there is going to be a season 2 and more, and there theoretically could be, because as a team, I thought it was really fun. I liked the premises that they were getting into and the missions they were going on. But in general, like, you need to have someone who's a little bit more charismatic. Yeah. So to be determined.
What do you think of the show title, Fubar?
It's short and simple. I think most people also will know what it means.
Yeah.
I became aware of this only really after Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, Saving Private Ryan, I think, is where they, like in pop culture, I think where it was used the most.
Right. I think that's when I became aware of it as, a civilian or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Black Hawk Down, but no, it was Saving Private Ryan. We've seen Schwarzenegger in this role before. Remember the movie True Lies?
Yes, exactly right.
And then there's a show, True Lies, as well.
Oh, great callback. I didn't even think of it. 100% the right call, because that's very similar. In fact, we even see Tom Arnold in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I should have put 2 and 2 together when I saw Tom Arnold in this show. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's very much the kind of True Lies, right? His wife did not know, and then they teamed up.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched the show, though. Have you watched the show?
I didn't.
It's totally different cast, but I mean, the premise is the same, right? he's traveling salesman. He's always gone. His wife finds out, and then they team up apparently.
Honestly, haven't bothered because generally speaking, I thought True Lies was such a good movie that I kind of just like, why go back to it?
I'll never forget the scene over Highway A1A, right? The bridge that goes
with the
from
Harrier
Miami.
jet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bridge that goes from Miami to
the
what
Keys.
are those little, the Florida Keys, right? Which is a highway you see on like so many movies, right?
Bad Boys for sure.
Bad Boys for sure. Yeah. Oh man, we'll be another Bad Boys.
Speaking of which, they're filming Bad Boys 5, or they're about to start production on Bad Boys 5.
It's Will Smith and
Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
Martin Lawrence. We have to say something. If we had like a rewatchables segment, the original Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2 are definitely in some type of Hall of Fame, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm not even Bad Boys 2, really Bad Boys.
Yeah. The most recent Bad Boys, those guys are so ancient, it actually became their own meta trope, in the film, right? Like, Will Smith was like, oh, like I jammed my knee and I think I'm too old for my girlfriend. And like, it was very, very uncomfortable to watch those guys kind of hobble around. I mean, look, we're not young puppies ourselves, but we're also not on screen trying to relive, the stuff that we did in our 20s,
Having
because
said
those
that,
original ones.
If Hollywood wants to make a movie of Pete and Ethan reliving their 20s and 30s together, happy to do it. Call us. We're available.
We will find time in our schedule to relive those moments, right?
Exactly.
It will involve studying in the library, all-nighters at the office. We could definitely pull those action scenes all over again.
Yep, exactly. Oh my God. He hurt himself with that stapler.
He's exhausted the next morning after that all-nighter. Partying? No. He was in the library.
Anyway, so Fubar.
That's Fubar on Netflix. Can I say one thing, though, to the benefit of Netflix?
Yeah.
Netflix has done these pretty horrible things with Gray Man. We saw it with Red Notice, basically everything with a color in the title. So Fubar, I think, is a little bit better that it's a show rather than a movie. And I thought that it was probably better value for money than Gray Man or Red Notice were.
I totally agree. It also gives them a longer tail. And by that, I mean that when Red Notice comes out, it's flash in the pan. It got a lot of attention for that one weekend or that 1 week or maybe 2 weeks at most.
Yeah.
But then it was kind of over and done with. For Fubar, you're looking at least 8 episodes worth of legs. And then on top of that, the question is going to come, are they making a second season? And then if they do, that'll get another 8 to 10 episodes worth of legs. So with all due respect to how this show looks, and it looks pretty good, I'm willing to bet you anything this was a way cheaper premise to shoot than Red Notice was.
I mean, again, it's really the action, which is a lot of Jeeps, a lot of guns and rifles, a lot of storage crates, kind of stuff that is a lot easier to do than
expensive.
Yeah.
Even the locations they were on.
Yeah.
Like they did a scene on a maglev train.
Yeah.
Just the exterior looked good, like a train that you'd see in Japan.
That's right.
But the interior just looked like a regular rail cart. It didn't look like anything fancy at all.
Yeah.
So I think this is where you can see that they saved their budget on. And to their credit, you didn't need to spend money on that kind of stuff. And that was absolutely fine.
May I refer the creators of Citadel to Fubar in terms of what can be done. And by the way, we're not looking for like finger paintings in the background, right? We're just saying you don't need to spend $300 million to have a show that looks good. And we prefer you focus on the characters than the expensive pyrotechnics.
Absolutely. And this show kind of does that. I think of it more as a relationship drama under the guise of an espionage action show than the other way around, right? Because you get to see a lot of quality time between Schwarzenegger's father figure and Barbaro's daughter figure. and them kind of sorting out their own difficulties with each other out. I think that's actually quite novel.
Okie doke. That is Fubar, Arnold Schwarzenegger on Netflix. If you haven't watched it,
what's your rating?
This is a mooch for me. I enjoy it. I have nothing but positive things to say about it. I don't think that if you don't have Netflix, you need to go out, sign up, and pay for a subscription to Netflix. But it's definitely worth, mooching. If you've got a friend who's got Netflix, you should definitely find a way to go over to their place and watch it. You should, mooch their password if you can. It's certainly a very entertaining show, and it's worth your time, but I can't say that it's worth subscribing deliberately and only for this show.
I 100% agree with you. This is the kind of content that I think is going to become the bread and butter for Netflix.
Yeah.
I think it's an easy watch. You can turn it off, pick it up next week. You won't really feel like you're desperate to watch it.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
At the end of the show, you're not, regretting your choices. But at the same time, you're absolutely right. I'm not immediately signing up for Netflix to see 3 more seasons of this. A really good mooch. And I think that strategically, this is the kind of show that Netflix / Amazon Prime / Paramount Plus should be kind of making. A low budget, high stakes in concept only, high impact. I think this is the kind of stuff that subscribers want to see. I can't speak for Netflix overall, but I know that Netflix India, this is a top 10 show already.
I'm sure it is. I mean, just because of the name recognition of Schwarzenegger. But
exactly.
I think you're right. In terms of, if I'm just looking at this from a subscriber perspective, all things being equal, let's say Citadel is amazing. Once you're done with Citadel on Amazon Prime, there's no stickiness. There's nothing else. Okay, I finished the season. It was amazing. I love it. Now what? And I think that's the problem with Amazon, is that they've got these incredible big budget, big name shows, but unless they're back to back to back, I feel like you are at risk of losing subscribers. Whereas Netflix, I think, is always saying, hey, let's have kind of 3 of these big things going on at once. Viewers may not like one of them, and when they finish the other one, they'll turn to the next one. And I think that's their goal for the stickiness,
Can I just do a small tangent?
Yes.
I highlighted this to you offline, and then I went to our Twitter page to talk about this. But Amazon Prime, sort your shit out. So when you go on Amazon, they can tell that you're traveling because it says Amazon Prime movies and shows to watch specifically while abroad.
Yep.
So they can tell that by my IP address, I'm not at home. No problem.
Correct.
I understand that. Air was under that. I'd already seen it. You had already seen it. I thought, you know what? I'm going to watch it a second time. There are a couple things that I really enjoyed. I thought I have some time. Let's watch it. Air was the first show on that list of movies to watch while abroad. I said, great. Clicked on Air. What's the first thing that comes up? This movie is not available in your region. What are you talking about, Amazon? You told me it's available to watch while I'm abroad. I click on it, and now you're telling me I can't watch it because I'm abroad? What is going on?
Totally agree with you. And let's not turn this into a copyright conversation, because both of us will be out of our depth. But for me, I have a real problem that if you subscribe to a service and you're registered under the country of origin's credit card and the country of origin's billing address, that if you're traveling or in a different region, you can't watch exactly the same catalog. I find that really, really frustrating. And I'm with you. When you're traveling, that's when you want to be able to call upon your streaming service and be able to watch something.
And you know what? I wouldn't have minded if they had said, by the way, because you're in India, you can't watch these shows. But you, Amazon, specifically said you can watch these shows while you're abroad.
There's also something wrong with that as well. So let's say The Covenant by Guy Ritchie, because that's kind of independent, okay?
Yeah.
Let's say that, Netflix has the right to that in the US, but it's a different service that has the rights to that in the UK. I would kind of understand then if you're traveling in the UK and you access your Netflix account that you can't watch it. But Air is an Amazon movie.
Yeah.
There's no one else in the world, any other streaming service or platform that should be able to show you Air because it's an Amazon movie. So as long as you're logged into your Amazon account and you've paid for that Amazon account, you should be able to watch it anywhere. Just like Mandalorian through Disney, just like Marvel through Disney, just like Yellowstone through Paramount. So what's happened to you, I think, is even more repulsive because of the fact that Amazon is the sole owner and controller of that IP.
Great point. Honestly, I didn't even think of it that way, but you're absolutely right. They funded the movie. Yeah. They should be able to show it anywhere they want.
If you were in India, where else would you watch that movie? It has to be through Amazon. That's why I use Covenant as an example, because that's a little bit more independent. I could maybe understand that would be on different platforms in different countries.
Yeah.
But here it's not the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, anyway, sorry. So Amazon, man, like, of course, you're not going to lose Ethan and myself as subscribers, but that's only because we have this podcast and that's important to us. Yeah. I think the value proposition for Amazon Prime drops every day you're not able to sort yourselves out. I'm not staying on Amazon Prime for Citadel. I can tell you that right now. I'm not staying on Amazon Prime for Air and then not being able to watch it. Amazon Prime used to be very valuable because you got it free as a part of your Amazon Prime subscription. There's no added cost to that. That's fine. But at the end of the day, I don't need next day free shipping on everything. You know, the UK is a small enough island where if you're not getting it the next day, you're getting it the day after that anyway. So I'm totally fine with saving 10, 12, 15 pounds a month, whatever it's going to end up costing. This is just another source of frustration from Amazon for me.
We will continue to push on Amazon and try to affect the change that you can believe in, because right now I think we're both a little bit unhappy with how they're managing things.
Absolutely. But in any case, Fubar on Netflix, it's a mooch from both of us. You should definitely watch it when you've got time, but you know, you don't need to stop everything you're doing for it. You certainly don't need to subscribe to Netflix for it.
Nope.
If you have any other shows that are new that you'd like to check out, let us know. Reach out to us. Tweet at us at F&S Podcast. DM us on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast. Email us aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com. But as always, the easiest thing you can do is like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below. All of those things really help us out.
That's right. Pete, thank you. Listeners, thanks for tuning in.
We'll be back.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.